From catastrophic mechanical failure to tragic acts of sabotage, here is the list of the top 5 worst air disasters in history. And coming up at No. 5, the Tenerife Airport Disaster. March 1977. Los Rodeos Airport on the Spanish island of Tenerife was one of the busiest airports in the world. For several days it had been serving as a hub for airlines to reroute their planes due to volcanic ash clouds closing down airports across the Canaries. The airport was crowded and exhausted. Passengers were growing impatient. And after a series of delays caused by bad weather, 2 Boeing 747s were cleared to land on the same runway only seconds apart. One of them, a KLM 747 carrying 234 passengers, was being allowed to land first. As it came in for the landing, it lined up perfectly with the taxiway, but its path would intersect with another plane, a Pan Am Boeing 747 bound for San Juan, Puerto Rico. After spending 5 hours circling the skies of Tenerife, the Pan Am 747 was tired. Its fuel reserves were low and its pilots were exhausted, but the crew requested and received permission to land. Seconds later, as the 2 jets barreled down the runway towards each other, there was no time left to react. The 2 planes collided. In the ensuing fireball, the KLM plane burst into flames and the Pan Am plane skidded off the runway and split in half. The death toll reached 583, making this the deadliest single aircraft disaster in the history of commercial aviation. Now at No. 4, Japan Airlines Flight 123, August 12, 1985. A JL Boeing 747 took off from Tokyo's Haneda Airport headed for Osaka. On board were 520 people, including 15 crew members and 507 passengers. It was supposed to be a routine domestic flight, but within minutes of takeoff, the plane began to lose altitude. At first, the pilots managed to stabilize the aircraft, but shortly after they found themselves plummeting toward the ground again. This terrifying loss of cabin pressure forced the crew to don their oxygen masks as panic spread among the passengers. By some miracle, the pilots were able to get the plane under control and they attempted to make an emergency landing back at Haneda Airport. But tragically, Flight 123 never made it. The plane was now dangerously off course and careening out of control. With 520 people on board, it crashed into a mountain in the Oite prefecture of Japan. The ensuing explosion could be heard as far away as 2 villages over. When emergency services arrived at the scene, they found nothing but twisted metal and personal belongings strewn across the mountainside. An investigation revealed that the disaster was caused by a poorly repaired portion of the plane's rear wall, which gave way during the flight, causing the rapid decompression and subsequent loss of control. All 520 people on board perished, making this the deadliest single aircraft accident in history. To this day, the crash site, known as the Urn Cemetery, is a place of mourning, where many of the victims are still buried. Coming up at No. 3, Saudia Flight 763 and Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907, November 1996. 2 passenger planes raced through the skies over New Delhi, India, each hurtling towards the other like missiles. The Saudi Arabia Airlines Flight 763 was carrying 309 people from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia to Delhi, while Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 had 213 people on board traveling from Almaty, Kazakhstan to Delhi. On this fateful day, both planes were approaching the Indian capital from different directions. The Saudi plane was on the right flight path, but the Kazakh plane had veered dangerously off course. Despite repeated warnings from air traffic controllers, the pilot of the Kazakh plane continued his descent, setting the stage for a catastrophe. With both planes barreling towards each other, there was only seconds left to react. At 11,000 feet above the Indian city of Chowki Dodri, the 2 planes collided in mid-air. In the ensuing chaos, both planes went down. Investigators determined that the Kazakh plane had descended dangerously below its assigned altitude, leading to the deadly collision. Although this disaster killed fewer people than others on our list, the fact that it was a mid-air collision between 2 planes heading in opposite directions made this tragedy all the more avoidable. Coming in at No. 2, Air India Flight 182, June 23, 1985. Air India Flight 182 was soaring through the skies from Vancouver to London. It was a scheduled stop on the plane's route back to India, and the 329 people on board felt safe and secure as they made their way over the North Atlantic. That sense of security was shattered when a terrorist bomb detonated on the plane, tearing it apart in midair. As the plane disintegrated, it broke into 3 pieces. All 3 pieces fell into the Atlantic Ocean. Only 2 bodies were recovered, leaving the fate of the 329 passengers and crew unknown. This was the deadliest terrorist attack in the history of aviation. But who was behind the bombing? A group of Sikh extremists calling itself the Babar Khalsa International claimed responsibility, saying that the bombing was retaliation for the Indian government's alleged mistreatment of Sikhs. However, suspicions fell on the militant group Air India Sikh or Azadi, which opposed the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947. The group had threatened to bomb Air India planes in the past, but no definitive proof has ever surfaced connecting either group to the bombing. Finally, at No. 1, Air France Flight 447, June 1, 2009, the Airbus A330 was flying from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil to Paris, France. On board were 228 passengers and 12 crew members. It was just another flight until it wasn't. In the early hours of June 1st, the Airbus 330 was cruising steadily over the Atlantic Ocean. But, unbeknownst to those on board, a series of technical malfunctions was about to unfold, throwing the plane into a downward spiral. The autopilot system disengaged, causing the plane to drop. Moments later, the pilots struggled to regain control as the plane pitched up and down violently. Somewhere along the way, the pilots had accidentally disabled the autopilot system and the plane started to plummet 11,000 meters to its doom. Every second that passed made the crash more and more inevitable. As the plane approached the water, the lights of the Caribbean islands flickered below, offering a haunting view of the world to those on board in their final moments alive. Finally, the plane hit the water and exploded, killing everyone on board. When investigators analyzed the flight data, they uncovered a chilling story of human error combined with technical failure. The pilots had made a series of mistakes that led to the disabling of the plane's autopilot system, but the plane's computer system had also malfunctioned, contributing to the confusion. Ultimately, a perfect storm of human and technological error had caused one of the deadliest aviation disasters of the 21st century. Which of these disasters shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories of history.